and welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today I'm going to show you how I cover a cake. I don't mean in fondant, but I mean this method works for buttercream, ganache, anything like that. And today I'm using my whipped ganache recipe that you saw on my channel 2 weeks ago, so I'll link that below. We've already filled and crumb coated it from last week's video, which I'll also link below. And this is a delicious whipped ganache frosting, which is my favorite thing on the planet. It tastes absolutely delicious, so I'm going to show you how to do it. This video is quite quick because it's only the outside and the top, and it's quite similar to the crumb coat in the sense that you put it on the sides, the top, and you smooth it over. And then I will show you what tools I use as well. Whenever you start a cake like this, it's always nice to make sure that the cake is nice and chilled. And then basically, as you can see, if I do this, nothing is coming off the cake. So it is perfect, ready to go. It's not the smoothest of edges, but that's not an issue because that's what we're going to do with this. So I have a small angled spatula. I have a large metal scraper that is taller than the cake. I have my turntable, I have my ganache, and we're ready to decorate. At this point, I'm literally just lathering the whipped ganache on. It doesn't matter if it's too messy for me because you're going to smooth it over later on, but you just want to make sure there's a thick layer all over the cake. When you're doing a cake like this, kind of like with the crumb coat, you need more than you'll actually leave on the cake. So it looks a bit messy now, but it's always better to have more on the cake because then as you smooth it around, naturally you will scrape some off. The best rule is though, if you're scraping off, don't put what you scrape off back into the bowl, just in case any of the filling has transferred into it. But obviously we have a really good crumb coat, so it's fine for me, but I just thought I'd say that just in case, because otherwise you could just sort of mix everything, all the flavors together, but it should be absolutely fine. So I'm just going to basically use my scraper now to smooth around the sides and the top of the cake. What I tend to do is the same as the crumb coat. I will spin the turntable and hold the metal sort of scraper at the same time. However, towards the end, I'll show you a neat little trick, especially with something like this and buttercream, is where if you lightly heat your scraper under the hot tap, dry it off, and then smooth it round, it'll just seal in the ganache, the buttercream, whatever you use, perfectly, get rid of the air bubbles, make it absolutely perfect. But for now, I'm just gonna keep scraping and make it as smooth as possible. If there are any gaps, top up with a little bit more ganache and just keep going until you're happy with the result. As you go around, you'll see it become smoother and smoother, and you know, the surface isn't absolutely perfect at this point, but that's still absolutely fine. Because of the hot water trick that we're going to do later, it will absolutely smooth it over. But I just go around lightly and firmly to make sure that in long strides you get as smooth a side as possible. So once you've got it as smooth as you're happy with, this is when I clean off my scraper, and it's the same scraper, and I do prefer metal ones for this reason and the next step, but I'm basically gonna carefully run it under the hot tap. It doesn't need to be boiling water because it will be hard to hold, but hot tap, dry it off, and whilst it's still hot, we're just gonna smooth over the cake again, just to smooth over the last little bits of the sides of the cake. And as you smooth it around, you can see it seal in with the heat. And you want to do nice long strides just to make sure it looks perfect. So that is how I cover a cake in ganache, buttercream, anything like that. And I will say, for some people out there, like the edges on the top aren't bothering me because I'm going to now cover this in a drip, so it will hide these imperfections. But obviously if you don't want to use a drip, then you can keep going. You can use the top for the scraper, for another angled spatula, heat that up as well. There are many different ways of doing it, but honestly, to me, I'm very happy with how this has turned out. It's just more showing you the method and the process that I use to help get a lovely, smooth, sealed in cake. So I'm gonna come back next week with how to do the drip and the decoration part. But obviously, if you just wanna know how to cover a cake, this video is for you. For everything I have done, like the ganache, all of this, all the links will be below, and all the sort of spatulas and everything like that. So I hope you love this video, give it a like if you haven't already, and subscribe. And I hope you come back next time for how to do the drip. Happy baking!